Comedian, actor, writer, intellect, Dame. Barry Humphries was both an Australian and British national treasure, who made us pommies his possums, and the world over laughed at that great, brutal, sharp wit.
They've found me a better seat.
It's very, very lovely to be on the programme. What can I do?
In a career spanning 70 years, Humphries was famed for his absurdist, subversive humour, poking fun at Australian culture with his vast array of personas.
But you know, we've got more culture than a penicillin factory in Australia. I'm telling you that.
But it was a fictitious Melbourne housewife in a wisteria pink wig, Dame Edna Everage, whose star rose to giddy gladioli heights in the 70s and 80s, landing several of her own talk shows while basically taking over the presenting duties of many others.
I was in the cemetery buffing up my husband's obelisk. I wanted to know, Judy and Sharon, what funeral have you just been?
The Dame rubbed shoulders with all the big names.
And this is the future Prime Minister talking!
Because no celebrity was too big nor any politician too powerful to avoid the wrath of her acid tongue.
I think if you can't laugh at yourself, you could be missing the joke of the century, couldn't you?
You inspire strong reactions, as I do.
I quite like that.
Hmm?
Rarely fronting the spotlight as himself, Edna had called Barry the manager who embezzled her fortune. It was only in the past decade that he began to perform as just Barry Humphries.
I've got a very good memory, Dermot.
Yeah.
Very good memory. And incidentally, I want to congratulate you, by the way, seriously, on your courage. Last year, no, when he came out and told us about his sexuality. And, no, because I think a lot of people respected you for that.
Thank you. I'll pass
they did.
that on.
Telling Channel 4 News in 2021 it was time for a change.
I really look forward to doing a show as myself. I've done it in Australia, and is really one of the best shows I've ever done.
The Jubilee girl is here, Passa!
Humphries said he'd be happy if his obituary didn't mention Dame Edna at all. Well, I'm sorry to dear Barry, as well as Sir Les and Sandy Stone, but the Dame just has to be remembered.
Kira Moodley reporting there. Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the author Cathy Lett, who was a close friend of Barry Humphries for more than 40 years. She visited him in hospital recently and he was still cracking jokes. I asked her how special he was to her and to the comedy world.
Barry Humphries has been taking our cultural temperature with a satirical thermometer for, 70-something years? His ability to pinprick pomposity with a lethal one-liner is just legendary. But, you know, if you knew Barry, he was so many different people. I mean, there was the Dame Edna side of him, that very caustic sense of humour where he could kind of give you quiplash with one of those lethal one-liners. But then there was of course, the Sir Les, you know, his cultural attache, who was very good at pointing out all the herds of elephants in the room. But beneath that mask was also the Barry, our beloved friend, who was more, his charm was more disarming than a UN peacekeeping force, you know, warm, witty, wonderful, just such, and so intellectual. I mean, you know, he's got so many books. He's collected 50,000 books. You know, his shelves are groaning from the weight of them. He collects art. I mean, so Les would think that erudite was some kind of glue, but actually Barry was an incredible intellectual. So he was just such a multifaceted man.
And, you know, his motto was, I offend, therefore I am. And that got him into a bit of trouble from time to time, not least in the trans debate. Did he find the sort of new rules of comedy somehow restricting, do you think?
A little bit. I mean, he was very, very hurt when they decided to take away the Barry Humphries Prize for Comedy and rename it as the Melbourne Comedy Prize. But Barry, there wasn't a skerrick of self-pity about the man.
And you are talking about him in the present tense. And,
yeah.
You know, he's got all these characters. You've lost at least 3 people. Give us a sense of the enormity of that, to you personally.
Well, I think, he has left us a massive legacy of laughter. So I think we can still talk about Dame Edna and Sir Les in the present tense, because through the clips and everything, those characters will live on. I spent New Year's Eve with him in Sydney, and he was so excited about the year to come. He was planning his one-man show, reviving it in Britain, and he was just so full of optimism. So then he had this hip operation, and there were complications. And even then, when we visited him in hospital, etc., his one aim was to make sure we were at ease and that he was making us laugh. I mean, he was a showman to the end, which is why I can't believe that we're not going to have an encore.
What was the last laugh you had with him then?
The last laugh I had with him, he was talking about the Grim Reaper walking up and down the hospital corridors and how badly dressed he was. He said the Grim Reaper had the original hoodie. And then he kept joking with the nurses, how many people the Grim Reaper had collected that day. And I was like, yeah, probably your fault, because they died laughing. So he was laughing and making us laugh till the end.
Cathy Lett, a wonderful way to remember him. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you very much for coming on the programme.